listening to the Nii Lamptey Show. My name's Joey, and I'm joined by Paul.
Good evening, guys.
And Neil.
Hello.
How are you both?
Really good. Not really.
I wanted to make some sort of joke about wanting to replace you both with two pop culture comparisons that would suggest like ineptitude as a hilarious satirical jibe at Slade's decision to drop Dion Kelly-Evans and Ryan Haynes last night. But I'm not clever enough or like witty enough or anything. So you get the sentiment, though.
Well, the fact that you explained it very well, that means, you've done your job.
Think about a better football podcast and a presenter that would have been able to turn that into a joke, and just imagine that's what happened. Me and Paul went last night, and it was really not quite the worst this season, but that's really telling about how bad this season has been. Let's focus on the positives, because Neil, I want your moment of the week, because I have a feeling I might know what it is.
Oh, moment of the week. No, I'm just pretending to be surprised there, because someone mentioned it. I'm never surprised by moment of the week, by the way. I always know it's coming. I think it's just authentic acting, which makes it feel like I'm just sort of picking out the top of my head. I actually plan quite a lot beforehand. Anyway, moment of the week was... See that? So natural.
You're literally filling for time now while you think of one.
How can you tell? I'm so good at this.
Neil, you were on the pitch.
I was on the pitch, and I tell you what, people should do that. Go in for that thing, because it was good fun. It was good laugh, and I got to shake Jody Jones's hand and Yakubu's hand, and I've got photos of them gawping at me while I'm kicking a football. And I mean, the official story is, I really enjoyed it. It was great. That's the official story. I'm a bit annoyed I didn't win. Didn't do it.
You were close.
I was close. So tell you what the problem was, Joey, and I will blame my equipment here. It was very, very slippy.
Oh, that's what she said.
Tell you what, I was so close to falling over every single time I kicked that ball. It was
really?
I was on there with my lovely... They had the most grip I've got, those pumps. And I thought, this will be fine, but it was pinning it down beforehand. And then the first one, I had one from the penalty spot. I had my hand in my pocket and a phone in my right hand. So I've watched it back, and it looks like I don't really know how to play football, which is a lie. I'm actually okay. And then as I got further back and I required a bit more power, the chances of me falling over became very, very high. And I almost fell over third go out, and then I just restrained it at the very last go. And I didn't get it, which I was a bit annoyed. But never mind. It was a good laugh. I enjoyed it.
I'm conscious that you've not actually explained what it is that you did for anybody who hasn't been following. I just
imagine I'm that famous and everybody was there watching me, but that's not the case, is it? I did kick it for a ticket at the weekend. So anybody who was at the match and stayed out and listened and heard someone's name probably know I did it, and everybody else was just thinking I'm a bit crazy. But
what was the top prize?
Well, I didn't even listen. I was in my own little zone. I think I was quite rude to John Dazal, actually. I didn't even really acknowledge him when I was on the pitch. But I think the top prize was executive box.
Yeah,
so you get a signed programme, some training gear, which would have been quite nice, actually, if you get it in from the edge of the box. Then you get corporate lounge, so that's like a meal or something. And then the top prize is executive box. But I didn't even care about the prizes. I genuinely wasn't even thinking about prizes or gambling. I thought, I've got to get this in. All I wanted to do was just have a go at kicking the ball on the pitch.
Did it make it easier or worse, the amount of people in the run-up to it that told you about that 10-year-old that scored from the halfway on the week before?
No, I didn't give monkeys about that. I don't care. I'm not going to compare myself to a little 10-year-old. No way.
No, he'd be much taller for a start. I mean, it was high drama, because I was convinced it was going in, and Paul, as usual, who's like, no, I think it's rolling wide. I was like, no,
how did you tell that it was rolling wide? How? I was right behind it, and I tell you what, I've never kicked a ball as straight as that in my life.
Yeah,
I thought, beforehand, I was saying I was going to send it out wide and try and bring it back. I aimed it directly at the right hand post, thinking, right, it's always going to come back. No, straight as a die, all the way towards the post, and then kind of just edged out. I was cross.
Yeah, you did a good job, though.
Thank you.
Paul, moment of the week.
As me and Sherwin were bowling up to Bury with our
Again, not
money in
everyone
our
knows
hand.
who. Explain who Sherwin is.
I'm not explaining who Sherwin is. So me and Sherwin are bowling up to Gig Lane last night, money in hand, all eager to watch another fine Coventry City performance. And a fine gentleman went, "Have you bought your tickets yet?" To which we both replied, "No." And he went, "Here, have one of these." So we got a complimentary ticket and walked in, free of charge. And I still think I was robbed.
Yeah. And, you know, loath as I am to make this all about me as usual, you got in for free, you two got in for free last night, and at Oldham away, friend of the show, Callum Mountfield, who was with us, he got in free. I'm paying for tickets left, right and centre. What's all this about?
Well, if you'd have heard my desperate calls, you may have turned around in time to also receive a free ticket.
I thought
there was a lot of free tickets. I think, was it 207 Cov fans went? I think probably 203 could have gotten on free tickets. The man had that many.
How am I paying? Oh, man. Never mind. But we had two games. We're going to talk about two games.
Well, what's your moment of the week, Joey?
Oh, who cares? So, I would say what I alluded to earlier was the team selection not featuring Dion Kelly-Evans and Ryan Haynes from the start. Just the first 11 yesterday. I can't think of many things like it. We always bang on here about it was a shit team selection or you got the wrong tactics or whatever. But this was like a mockery. This was just like and the thing that typified it most to me. And I know that Clive Eakin was saying, he's played left back before in his career, but I mean, fuck off. Jordan Turnbull, his body language in the first half playing at left back, he might as well have fucking turned around to the crowd, lifted up his shirt and had a shirt with just a really unhappy face drawn on it. He was miserable playing at left back in that game. And the way that they had been shifted around, and I know that Paul is going to talk about this more extensively, you couldn't have been more palpable. You couldn't have been able to tell better that they had all been playing in a different defensive position only 3 days before, or they hadn't been playing, or they weren't used to playing with each other. The whole thing was just a joke. But it starts with, how on earth could you... And he knew he'd fucked up, because then he brought him on at half-time. And you think, how could you know that was where it had gone wrong, but that you didn't pick him in the first place? It was just bewildering yesterday, but I feel like I'm jumping the gun quite a lot. But yeah, that to me, and I know we've kind of slipped into this. Sorry, I'm going all ranty, but fuck it. We've kind of slipped into this because we don't want to be them mad histrionic people that are saying, "Oh, fucking sack the board" after 2 seconds of a manager being in. But fuck, Slade, it's got to stop. It's really seriously got to stop.
Look at the state of that table. That's what me and Paul were talking about beforehand, and just how drastically shit he has made. I know that we weren't great beforehand, but I felt like we were at least competing in some sense in matches. But this decline has just been absolutely atrocious. Can we keep him? Oh, is this too broad a question? Should we ask that question now? I don't know.
Well, the thing is, in the first 10 games of the season, you had a manager who didn't manage to win a game. And then the next 12 games, you had a manager who clearly wasn't a manager, but did manage to win some games. And then we appointed Russell Slade, who's got 600 managerial games under his belt. And he's been the worst performing out of the three. I mean, how are you worse than Venus? Yet so clearly underperforming compared to Venus. It's just baffling. And there's not even the argument, they're not even his players. He bought Nathan Clark.
Yeah, a lot of them are his players, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it almost makes it worse in my head. He spotted the fact we needed a big, strong centre-half. He went and got one, and he picked a shit one. He picked one who's made us actually worse than what we were before we signed the player we needed to sign. How do you do that?
But it's like there was a time maybe 5 years ago where he was a manager that had got any sort of idea, and it's like he's stuck in time. It's like everything else has passed him by, and he's just gone, yeah, Nathan Clark's a good player. I saw him years ago, he was a good player.
Yeah.
And Yakubu, and he keeps banging on about bringing in players with Premier League like pedigree. That'd be fine if they were playing in the Premier League last year, or even 2 years ago. But they're going to be like 37-year-olds. And you're like, but you realise that they don't just stay good forever. I don't get it. And Kevin Foley and the players in Riley, and it's just, it's amazing to think. At the first 10 games of this season, you looked at it and you were like, wow, this is bad. At least it can only get better. But it's somehow got like loads worse. I'm pining for the first 10 games of this season. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm way over the line here. Right.
You weren't, mate. You're allowed.
Swindon on Saturday, Neil. A team that we absolutely had to beat, that we had a good opportunity to beat, who completely ran right over us. Do you want to give us a bit of
you've got to put the proper narrative. Third from bottom Swindon, who had only won once in about 18 games.
Yeah.
Truly horrific Swindon, who couldn't pass a ball and basically were shit. Come into the mighty Rico, where we had won the week before.
Their director of football is actually Tim Sherwood. That's how bad. Yeah, come on then, what happened? Why were they able to so effectively dismantle us?
Well, the problem was, Joey, like, we started well. We did it, and actually Slade did what he should have been doing a few other times, just playing he played the same team that won the week before. Great, that was good, that made sense. Nobody can have a go in for that. And they started in a similar way, and I know we kind of disagreed last time out about the performance against Gillingham, but I felt a similar sort of performance to that in the first 10 minutes. 10 minutes, God's sake. But, like, we were passing it well. We created plenty of chances, but we weren't clinical. And something happened when they scored, and it just showed the sheer fragility of our team when they scored. And suddenly, all that good confidence and all that good sort of play and feeling between the players just dissipated. And next thing you knew, we were just the same cop as old, and it was so annoying to think that we could just be that fragile in mindset that it takes one goal to completely dismantle what was growing into a more competent team. And their first goal was annoyingly sort of preventable as well. Basically, if you defend the ball as it's coming to you, they don't score. But Turnbull decided to just let that ball go past him. Too many people don't understand the offside rule and thought it was offside when he clearly wasn't offside. And Jose put the ball into the net. And from that point onwards, it was just a complete flip round of what it should have been. And we just went into our shell. Jose suddenly found gaps all over the place. The second goal, Nathan Clark gave the ball away with another just mishit of the ball, and there was an element of American football in there where he was then blocked from making the subsequent tackle, which you could argue shouldn't have been allowed. But beyond that, I think that might not have been a goal.
That might have chance.
That was just a chance where he came running through. Yeah, you're right. But the other,
the second one, he's tried to chest the ball on the edge of his 18-yard box, and his chest is so bad that it's gone straight to the opposing player.
Correct, yes. Oh, you can tell I watched these a while ago.
The second, this is where Nathan Clark has basically been tapped off the ball. The player that is meant to be our big physical centre half. Yeah. He's just sort of, someone breathes on him and he just falls over.
It happens a lot for someone who, like you say, is supposed to be our big bruiser at the back. And I was starting to warm to him. But then I saw that performance again, and I just thought, God, why is it we can only muster up sort of a 90-minute period, and then we just have to? It's like 90 minutes within 5 separate games, and then it's not on, is it? Really, having to watch that. And second half, they went 3-0 up in the second half, and it was just more comical defending. There's nobody really in the middle watching what was going on, sort of taking any notice of Jose in the middle of the box, and it's just too tame. And that's why I described it after the match. It was just going from a positive start and one where we probably should have been 1-0 up, 2-0 up potentially, to then just completely capitulating and just literally standing there and watching another team pass the ball around us. It was woeful. And Jose, he's quick. We'll give him that. He's quick, but we made him look a whole lot better than he's looked this season. I don't think necessarily he was given much service. I think a lot of it was just down to the fact that he was miles quicker than our two centre-backs. But we made him look like a world beater. And by all accounts, he's not a world beater, and he hasn't been this season. And it's just another sort of frustrating afternoon at the Rico. Good on George Thomas, got himself a goal. It was obviously far too late for anything to happen. And then what else happened in that match? Riley had a awful match, absolutely terrible, which annoys me because he's another player who I'm starting to like the look of, and then they go and do stuff like that. And that's not to say I'm going to completely change my opinion of him, but when you see him play that bad, you do start to question their mentality. And the other thing was, I guess Yakubu hurt his hamstring and somehow became a laughing stock, which was a bit of an annoyance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we need to explain that, do we? I should imagine everyone in the world has seen that video by now.
Yeah, context is everything, isn't it, really, I guess? And people, especially in the world of the internet, will see things without context and make their own mind up. Anything for a meme, I guess, isn't it? Anything for something to be a little bit funny, which is, I mean, I'm not too sensitive about it. I mean, it's football, and I think most people who understand football will probably look at that and think, well, something's up. He's not just going to be walking around for 2 minutes doing nothing. He was obviously talking to people. So, but at the same time, you know, it's just a bit embarrassing for him, isn't it?
I wanted to make a very quick point.
I've got just two very small points. One, I didn't really explain myself very well after the Gillingham game. And it wasn't until the next day I really sort of considered what I probably should have said. And what I should have said was, I didn't see... My issue with the Gillingham game is I thought Gillingham was so bad that we won because they were bad. I didn't see us change our system or we do anything different for that game, which then would have beaten most other sides. We were just our usual selves, and we came across a team who were even worse. And against Swindon, it just seemed to back that idea up, because Swindon, to be fair to them, played quite nice football, and they kept the ball quite well. And once they went 1-0 up, we just couldn't deal with them, and we made Swindon look in the first 45 minutes how Gillingham had made us look in the first 45 minutes the week before.
It was only when they scored, Paul, I'd say. Honestly, I think that first portion of that match, we had plenty of chances.
I think they did as well. I think it was quite an even match. I don't think either team were particularly on top. I mean, I just thought Swindon are another awful team. Bury, who we lost to yesterday, are another awful team. And it's just, you're going to have times, you're going to create chances against awful teams, because if they weren't awful, they wouldn't be in the bottom four.
But at least we created them because we were playing nice stuff. It wasn't like they just opened up and we just fell into those chances. We did. It's like the Gillingham game in that first half. I think we did play well. We played good football, and then we something stopped us and in our tracks. I wouldn't like to say that we're being rubbish, and occasionally gaps were presenting themselves, and then we were somehow finding our way through. I do think there were portions, and that's what made Saturday so frustrating for me, was because we started off in the same manner as we played in that first half against Gillingham, and then, which to me shows me that there's a capability there, and then somehow it stops. Something stops it in its tracks, and then we find we're completely incapable of bringing it back.
That's fair enough. I think we're still miles apart on that one. But you know, that's fine. I mean, that's just the way it is, isn't it? I mean, and the other thing, which is on the highlights from the Swindon game, is George Thomas gets the ball and he's just outside the area, and the guy's about to close him down, and Dion Kelly-Evans runs around the outside of him, and the defender doesn't know whether to stay with George Thomas or go with Kelly-Evans, and he decides to go with Kelly-Evans, which gives George Thomas a chance to put the ball in, and then Andy Rose sort of miskicks his shot, and you watch that and you're like, that's why you need people like Dion Kelly-Evans, because that's unselfish. He must have run 40, 50 yards, an unselfish run. But that unselfish run has created the chance for someone like George Thomas to have the time to pick out his ball. And you'd think of the other right backs we've had this season. No one else is making that run. No one else has got it in their arsenal, in their appetite for the game to make that selfless run. Like Jordan Willis wasn't going to make it. So you just think, well, in this division, having fullbacks who, okay, I don't think they're particularly great defensively, and I think if you'd watched their third goal, Swindon's third goal, Dion Kelly-Evans and George Thomas don't deal with the situation, they don't close the player down, and they make it easy for him to put that ball in. Yeah. So I'm not saying that Dion Kelly-Evans is the finished article at all, but I just think it's a case of what he may lack defensively, what he gives us going forward is worth it, you know, and I'm glad that he was up until yesterday beginning to sort of cement his place in the team, because when you look at the way that Slade plays, I mean, even on the team against on Saturday, he basically had Riley on the left wing with Foley and Rose in central midfield, and then that only really leaves you George Thomas as your creative player with the two fullbacks who are creative players. If you take those fullbacks out and you just leave George Thomas, you've got no one to create goals. And when we went the second half and you put Kwame Thomas on the left wing, you're one of those managers who just associates having strikers on the pitch with goals. Who's creating the chances? Kwame Thomas has shown nothing to indicate that he's going to create a goal for anyone else. So having him on the left wing, you're preventing him from getting into the box, but also you're preventing the ball from coming into the box because you've got him on the left wing when you've got two left wingers on the bench. It's just, those sort of things, like, that's just weird. And that's just from the Saturday game, let alone yesterday.
Did you see who was picking the ball up out of the net for Thomas's goal? Kelly-Evans.
Yeah.
What's he doing in there? That just goes to show he's up there supporting. Even at that late stage in the game, he's still got the sort of desire and the urge to help out and do his job.
What did you make of George Thomas's goal, Neil?
I liked it. I mean, I think the keeper probably will be annoyed with himself, but it's baby steps for George Thomas, isn't it? He's gradually more and more feeling kind of part of the team, which is frustration because it's a shame the team is so crap at the moment, because I would have liked to see him kind of feeling this way last season, because it would have been sky high, but he was just so nervous at the back end of last year. But you can see, like, the fact that he's holding onto the ball a little bit more now, and that chance that Paul mentioned earlier where he used a decoy run. I mean, maybe a few games ago, he probably would have played that ball to Kelly-Evans, just done the easy thing, because nobody would have had a go in for it. But I think he's starting to feel a sense of responsibility, which is a good thing for him, but it's also a bad thing because he really shouldn't be the only player who has to create, like you say.
I think there's a lot of noise about him this season, isn't there? And I think ultimately what we can probably all agree on is and I don't mean this is like a negative or a nasty thing, he's the sort of player that you have in a team that goes down quality-wise, but he is a player who's improving quite dramatically week on week, I'd say. And I just think it's, for me overall, his goal, which was the first question, I just thought was funny because it's not even like Fodringham had got any excuse or to get out. Like, he was staring straight down the barrel of it.
Yeah.
He set himself for what looked like 30 seconds. Like, you knew he was going to shoot.
Yeah.
And yet he still just got beat really, really, really far into his near post. It was really strange. It was like he'd taken his gloves off and been like, oh, sorry, I thought we were done. But I just think that George Thomas overall is, and we'll probably get more onto this. Well, now probably. Fuck it, who cares? I think he is a player that I think we should be considering for our League 2 preparation. So I just think now, having lost those two games, I don't think there can be any doubt that we're down, are we? There's not. It's completely insurmountable now. And I just think that we should now be looking at a team for League 2. And I would say that he's in it. And one of the things we've been asked on Twitter, and I thought it'd be interesting to get your two's take on, is out of the squad and out of the team, who would be part of that League Two preparation team should you be doing that? Neil, I've got a funny feeling you're going to say absolutely not to.
It's tricky, isn't it? I think the Cov lads, and not because I'm overly romantic about being from around Cov or being young Cov lads. I just think the two fullbacks are just showing that they've got quality about them. I can't see Ben Stevenson staying because he's too good, but I'd love him to be around. I'm still to be fully persuaded about George Thomas, but let's face it, nobody is really going to take him, and he is improving, so he's certainly got to be around. Beyond that, I'll tell you what, it's I'm not really sure about any of the other players for a range of reasons. It's just a mishmash of poor players, old players, players who just couldn't really give a monkeys. It's just not good at all.
Paul, any advance on players that you'd keep out of that group, or that you'd be sort of prioritising playing?
If you stripped it back to proper skeleton, for the first game of next season, I'd have Urgh, Dion Kelly-Evans, Turnbull, Haynes, George Thomas, Jody Jones, Kwame Thomas, and I'd probably keep Bevan. And that's not saying, okay, they might not be starters, but I'd keep them in the squad. I agree, I think Ben Stevenson will go. Biggie. The rumour with Biggie is that if he plays again, we're going to have to pay more money for him. No one's come out and said that's, I don't know if that's just a rumour or if that's got any basis. It's just, I'd just like it, that, it almost, I think I'd respect the club a bit more if they just went, well, there's no point in us playing him and paying more money for him. We're going down. But to just keep playing Kevin Foley, to actually have the idea that Kevin Foley's a better player for him than him, and that's why we're paying Kevin Foley, is just, and you're almost like, well, I can't believe that he's that much better than Ivor Lawton. So,
well, yeah.
I know Ivor Lawton's been released, but you're almost like, this is just ridiculous. And then, obviously the bunch of kids who, people like Jack Finch we've seen bits of, Maycock we've seen bits of, and then Bevan, I just think he might be worth, I don't really agree with the people who booed Tud Guy on Saturday. I think it wasn't, I hate saying it wasn't his fault. He didn't,
but he wasn't any worse, was he?
No, and I think
that's the annoying thing. That gets me more than anything else. And sorry to just butt in, but more than anything else that annoys me is just sort of focusing on one player for the sake of it, and it's almost like we feel like we have to. And I'm not saying he played well or anything, but he certainly didn't play any worse. And also, just I can't understand the logic where you would make that sort of noise towards any individual when they're walking off. Fair enough, if you're going to boo the entire team and as a collective give them some grief, I mean that's football, isn't it? But just to do that, it doesn't do anything. And when it's kind of unwarranted as well, it's just doubly annoying because it's just you're booing someone for playing pretty much the same as everybody. He won quite a few headers actually. He's just old now, isn't he? He's old and he's not as good as he used to be. But I'd say he actually tries more than most of them.
Yeah, and that's where it gets difficult, isn't it? Sorry, go on, Paul.
Well, I mean, the pure fact of the matter is he was past it when we signed him 3 years ago.
Yeah,
and he's got 3 years older, and he's got another 50 games in his legs. He's not gonna be. He is what he is. We've said this numerous times this season. We feel sorry for him. He's 34 and he's chasing Nathan Clark's passes. I don't wish that on anyone in the world. He's not. There's nothing conclusive or conducive around him to make him look better. What he needs are people around him to give him the ball. And when the people around him to give him the ball are Callum Riley, who I think he had a good second half yesterday. Me and Joe discussed. I think he did drive us forward. But I think with the ball at his feet and actually passing it, I think Callum Riley's quite poor. I think his distribution is by far his weakest part. And Kevin Foley, unless it's a 1 yard pass back the way it's came, isn't a central midfielder. He clearly can't distribute the ball. So you're asking Tudkai to link the play, and the two players who are trying to give him the ball are dreadful footballers in terms of using utilising the football. It's not Tudguy's fault. So you're almost like, well, how's he meant to be getting any better when you're playing the players around him?
Well, he's not going to get any better, full stop, is he? I just think
No.
there's something to be said for... I think the problem with this conversation, perhaps, is that I think we could do with someone with a contra view, because I think we're all very much on the same page with it. But I think I can see how you could be really bummed out with a player who wasn't trying or was performing under their ability level, but being annoyed at Marcus Tudgay not being better than he is, and despite the fact that he's trying as hard as he can, it's not his fault. It's just a shame that he's not very good. But then you could say that about 1 million of them players.
It's just sometimes really hard because it's football and because everybody gets sort of whipped up into the whole situation. Without being too sentimental towards it, he is a bloke, and I can't watch when a single bloke is walking off the pitch having what I saw he was trying. May not be in a good game, but he was trying, and then to have that sort of reaction, it just upsets me a little bit.
Yeah,
just have to watch it. It's just a bit. It's not on really.
Yeah, left a bit.
Especially if it's one of our own. I mean, we give old players. Connor Thomas runs on the pitch. He gets an ovation, and then our own player gets sort of ovation because he's going off, and like in an ironic way. And it's just give our players a bit of confidence somehow, but not just telling them their shit every 2 seconds. I don't know, because they are. But
on the subject of Connor Thomas, I saw a brilliant interaction on Twitter earlier of somebody saying, "Well, what on earth happened to Connor Thomas? How long has he been out for?" And someone said he went to Swindon, and they were like, "What on loan though?" And he was like, "No, he's gone permanently." And he went, "Yeah, well, it's better out of here with Sisu." Like that, you were like, Nice way of change your point there. Dodge that. You thought he was still at the club 1 minute, and then straight away you were like, yeah, well, actually, good riddance to... I wouldn't blame him for getting out of here. You were like, you didn't even know. What are you talking about? Yeah, I mean, he was one of the fortunate ones that got out. Paul, you witnessed what's left, the dregs, if you will, on last night, in fact, against Bury. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit. We've talked about the strange team formation. Give us a bit more detail about the back four.
I think before I do anything, I think we need to skip to the end. And the end is Russell Slade's interview, which has been highlighted a bit, where he said, we've tried many different tactics and formations this season, and it hasn't worked. And he's basically like, tactics don't matter. Yes, they do. What matters, though, is playing the right players in the right positions in the right formation for the given opportunity. So yesterday we played Bury, who played 3-5-2. I know they play 3-5-2 because I read Sideways Sammy's blog before the game. So when you read, like, Russell Slade was correct in his prediction that Bury play 3-5-2. That's what they do. So if you know the opposition who play 3-5-2, there are different ways of playing 3-5-2 with this, I grant you. And sorry, this is going to get very boring tactics for 5 minutes, but I've got to get this off my chest. Bury play a defensive 3-5-2. So they have a back three, they have a defensive midfielder, they have 4 across the middle with wing backs, and then they have 2 up front. So you look at that and you go, okay, where are our key players? Our key players are going to be the 2 fullbacks because they're directly up against no one. Because we're playing 4-4-2. Their wing backs have got to cover our wingers. So that's fine. So the 2 key players who are going to have the most time on the ball are going to be our fullbacks. So you're like, that's great because we've got Dion Kelly-Evans and we've got Ryan Haynes and they're really attacking fullbacks and they can carry the ball at pace. And, oh fuck, he's picked Jordan Willis, who can't carry the ball, can't attack, and has one setting for his foot, which is punt, and Jordan Turnbull, who played the last game at centre-half. So you've moved Turnbull from left-hand side of the centre-half to left-back, Nathan Clark from the right-hand side of the centre-half to left side of the centre-half, and you brought in Rawson, who hasn't played for about 6 months. Great. And then on the left wing, for some unknown reason, you've played the other lad from Derby, who no one can remember the name of, because no one cares, because no one's seen him. But you've got 2 left wingers on the bench, but no, we'll go with the number 9 from Derby. Great. And you've got George Thomas on the right, which is where he sort of stands, and you've decided that playing Callum Riley on the left wing doesn't work. Who would have guessed? And you decided to drop Andy Rose because he's an attacking midfielder and we need goals. But we noticed that he hasn't scored while you've been manager, has he, Russell? Because you don't let him attack. No. So you've gone for Kevin Foley, who must have some pictures of you in some sort of pose, and Callum Riley. And up front, you've gone with Bevan and Kwame Thomas. Or as Joey thought for the entire first half, you've gone up front with Kwame Thomas. Because it wasn't until the second half where Joey turned to me and went, when did Bevan come on? Started
for
the
real.
game, Joey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A testament to the lack of attacking that we did, and even when we did, just Bevan-less.
Yeah. So you're like, and then, okay, well, at least out of that team, you've got 4 centre-halves. 2 of them are clearly out of position, but that's okay. In midfield, you've got a right-back who's playing centre midfield and a centre midfielder, so that's one player in his right position there. And then you've got George Thomas, who's played really well at the moment on the right midfield. After 3-4 minutes, he moved to the left-hand side of midfield. So even George Thomas, who's been playing quite well on the right midfield, has instantly been moved out of position to the left wing. Yeah, so you've got you've got Jordan Turnbull, who's a centre-back at left-back, and George Thomas, who's a right-footed centre-forward on the left wing. This is going to go well. And then it got worse. Bury started really well. They probably should have scored in the first minute, then probably the 3rd minute, and then the 5th minute. And then they did finally score with what can be described as the shocking defending of Nathan Clark, who a week ago, the Coventry Telegraph were telling us is now a fan's favourite. Yesterday decided that he was so shit that he deserved a 2 out of 10. It's like, the guy's shit. I can't keep saying this. The guy it's not his fault maybe, but he shouldn't be in our first team. And I know that sort of leaves us with a massive hole. The guy's just past it. His passing is awful. His positional awareness is just gone. It's painful to watch the guy. Someone's got to put him out of his misery. And sort of James Vaughan did, just by making him look really stupid. And then Tom Pope did. And you're like, well, Tom Pope's through one-on-one with that goal. Where is our defence gone? And you're like, well, our left-back, who spent the last couple of games playing centre-half, isn't used to being a left-back. You're just asking him to just change his whole positional shape. His position on the pitch has been shifted by 10 yards. But not only that, when you're a centre-back, you're meant to be, you basically mark an opposing player. When you're left-back, you're meant to maraud up and down the pitch. It's just, the whole role is completely fucking different. And to expect a player, like some of the best players in the world, like Lilian Thuram could play right back for France and centre back for Juve. He was world class. Jordan Turnbull is an average League One centre back. And you're asking him to do 2 roles in 3 days. And it's not his fault that he didn't know what to do. And yeah, as Clive comes like, yeah, but he's played left back before. And it's like, yeah, he's played left-hand side of a centre-back 3 days ago. It's not comparable. If you play 10 games at left-back, that's different. Playing... And then Jordan Willis at right-back hasn't played right-back a lot this season. And his distribution, can I keep saying this, is fucking atrocious. I mean, Joey, how many times did he just get the ball and punt it from right-back to left wing?
Every time he got the ball?
Yeah. And you're like... But you're playing 4-4-2 against 3-5-2. So Jordan Willis is the player who's going to get a lot of time on the ball. So why is he panically punting it halfway across the pitch? And like Bury should have been 5 or 6 up at half time. Yeah. And then in the second half, we changed it up. We brought on Kelly Evans and Ryan Haynes. We took off Rawson, went 3 at the back, and we basically matched them up. So we put Verman on the kid who was playing the Anchorman role. So suddenly they didn't have any chime in midfield, but also because we brought on our wing backs, Ryan Haynes was suddenly in a one-on-one battle with their right wing back, and he won that battle more often than he lost, and he created the goal for Bevan, and he had other opportunities. And suddenly, with players like Dion Kelly-Evans who can carry the ball, and Ryan Haynes, who can carry the ball, they create space because they're taking players out of the game. They've beaten players. So Callum Riley was finding space to run into. The whole team just opened up because we suddenly had people who could move the ball quickly, who were actually adventurous in what they were trying to do. And you were like, this is... I'd not really bothered if you... I probably would have preferred if you'd have played 4-4-2. I'd rather you stuck at a system and went, we play 4-4-2 every week. And it's like, I know we lost the Swindon game, but it didn't mean you had to completely decimate the back four. It's that back four. You've got to give players time to form relationships. And you could see that, because as soon as you brought Clark and Rawson on, who haven't played much together, they just looked like they didn't know where they were trying to stand. They just didn't know what they were trying to achieve. And it's like, I'm not Nathan Clark's biggest fan, but it doesn't help going from the right-hand side. Yeah, it doesn't help going from the right-hand side of the centre-back, where the closest touchline to you is the right side, and all your sort of, your peripheral vision, everything you do. I know he's only shifted 10 yards to the left, but it's massive, because your whole perspective of the game, what you're trying to achieve, where you're trying to show players, instead of being sort of showing them to the wing on the right hand side, you're now showing them to the wing on the left hand side. It's big things. It's like it's that's why John Terry only ever played left hand side of the centre backs. It's like that's what he did for his entire fucking career. You didn't see people dicking around with John Terry. So in 3 days we're dicking around with Nathan Clark. It's just like the first half is like the first time in probably ever where you've just sat there and just gone, not only do I not think this guy's got a clue, I think this guy just hasn't really ever watched any football before. Because if he had, he wouldn't have done this. He just clearly wouldn't have done this. Because just from a human point of view, what he's done is just fucking criminal to his back four. It's just unfair on his back four. But from a football tactical point of view, he's just bewilderingly just clueless. And then he comes, we were better in the second half. By then it was fucking too late. You'd given Bury a 2-0 lead. Fucking Bury, who were shit, truly shit. And we made them look shit in the second half when we probably could have got an equaliser. You're like, you've given them a 2-0 head start. You have, not the players. Don't have a go at the fucking players. They've tried to make the best with the shit that you've done to them. How is that fair? It's like, this guy's going to lead us out at Wembley with Oxford United have got to the final. They're going to fucking hammer us. Because we're fucking clueless. With an absolute useless twat as a manager.
Can he still be there in a month's time? Doing what he's doing?
I think he will, yeah. Because his contract's at the end of the season, isn't it? And even though...
It's an outrage, isn't it?
Well, it is an outrage. I think I think we should be really clear here. We're not the sort of people that would advocate such swift action. I don't think normally we would want a bit more sort of patience and whatever else. But this is, all bets are off here. This is so wildly, clearly inept that you've got to stem it now. And I think we could have a separate argument that we haven't got the time for now as to whether it should be to try and salvage this season or to try and prepare for next season. But he's not the man to do either. Just absolutely clearly. But I don't think, in reality, the club will pay him off. They'll just wait. And it's really unlikely that they're going to be able to turn this boat round now. So they might as well...
It's only a couple of months' wages, isn't it?
Well,
It's 2 months, isn't it? It's only this... our last game's the end of April, so it's only March, April.
Don't want to get into the HR of things, but it's kind of... it's doable if we want to.
Yeah. But then I wonder as well who... really now, who on earth would... Who's left? Who have we had...
You're looking for next year, aren't you? You're looking for someone who's going to eye it up.
Who's a manager that we haven't already had?
The thing is, you, as Neil says, you're basically looking for someone to come in and assess everything and basically just sort of comb over or go through the crumbs of what players we've got. Like we discussed, there aren't that many. And it's unfair to bed the kids as well, because, if they're not ready, they're not ready whether or not we want them to be ready, because we don't want to play some of the other players we're playing. There probably is play Kean Harris instead of Nathan Clark, because why not? Play fucking Sherwin in central midfield instead of Kevin Foley. Like, what we're going to lose? It's just. I think, as I said, the other thing that got me yesterday was when I read the team sheet, and I know other players. I know Tug Guy and Rose also got dropped, but after the way that Slade was like, the defence was shit on Saturday, and then he went and dropped Kelly Evans and Haynes. It's like, we were shit, and I'm blaming you two, and you're like, how's that phase? Even if they'd been truly awful, which I don't think they were, and none of the goals came from Ryan Haynes' side either. So it's just like, that's just even more unfair from Ryan Haynes' point of view. It's just like, young players they might not always have the best of games, but to cast them aside, and then at half time it's like, oh, we're 2-0 down. Oh, you two, the two players I dropped because, you two, I need you to save me. If I was Ryan Haynes, I'd be like, yeah. And that's one of my worries is, like, and I said this right at the start of the season, and I got fucking hammered from it by one of the COV fans. It's if I was Ryan Haynes in the summer, if we went with the contract, I'd be like, fuck off. I've wasted 3 years at this club. I wasted while you played Lewis Page ahead of me. Me and Jimbo said it against Sheffield, and me and Joey had a discussion yesterday. Someone is going to turn Ryan Haynes into a really good footballer. He might not play in the Prem, but he'd probably have a really good career in the Championship. And and we wasted that because we didn't have a manager who had any fucking idea what he was doing.
Yeah.
I just want a bit of pride back, guys. I want someone to come in and just win us a few games. Just almost, can I say Andy Thorne? You know, when he came in and he changed the dynamic a little bit, and we won a few games, and I just wasn't entirely embarrassed. He got the players kind of enjoying the football again. I mean, there's no point looking at saving stuff and everything, because even if you do everything you can do, you're probably still not going to save it anyway, so why worry about it? But I just want to, by the time we get to Wembley, just feel a little bit better about them, because at the moment, they're ruining it. They really are going to spoil that, and I didn't think that was possible. I thought I was going to be able to go to that match sort of blindly, sort of happy about everything, but I tell you what, if we lose all of our games, run up to Wembley, I don't know how I'm going to feel. Because we're going to be down by that point, and it's just going to be completely tainted.
I mean, after Saturday's game against Shrewsbury, there is no one really easy left. We've got Port Vale and Shrewsbury that are the only two teams who are, in the mess with us. In the last 4 games, we've played the teams who are in the mess with us. Oldham scored 3, Swindon scored 3, and Bury scored 2. And, that's the other thing. The other thing that goes through my head is we haven't kept clean sheets since Slade's come in. It's like 10 games ago, he should have been, what I'm going to do is just make us really hard to beat. Really hard to beat. You're going to have to fucking basically knock down walls to score against us. And you're like, well, we don't outscore the opposition. We don't even try and outscore the opposition. We don't play creative players. We just play strikers in the off chance they might score wonder goals. But we concede sloppy goals as well. It's, against Bury, the first half, he played 4 centre-backs. Callum Riley's essentially a defensive midfielder, and Kevin Foley is a defender. So we played with 6 defensive players.
Is this not him trying to do what you just said? Trying to make us absolutely hard to beat.
And just being completely useless at it.
Yeah, completely messing it up, obviously.
No, because you'd be more... You would be better drilled than that, surely. Again, it's a bit like you can't just have strikers on the pitch and expect them to score goals. You can't just have defenders on the pitch and expect to keep clean sheets. You've got to keep them... Like, I thought Jordan Turnbull had quite a good game on Saturday against Swindon. And someone went, what about the first goal? And I was like, oh, what did I miss? And you watch the first goal, and Dion Kelly-Evans and Nathan Clark are in one line, and 4 yards behind them are Jordan Turnbull and Ryan Haynes. And you're like, you're defending in our 18-yard box, and there's a 3 or 4 yard gap between our 2 centre-backs. And I don't mean sort of laterally, I mean, look, sort of behind, one's 4 yards behind the other one. That's not a defensive line. That line should be fucking tight. And it's things like that. We don't look drilled. We don't look organised. And we were studying with Justin yesterday, and one of the chances was, if you're playing fullbacks, and one of the things I gave Ryan Haynes a lot of praise for in the Wickham game is he made 3 or 4 brilliant covering challenges where he came behind Turnbull and cleared the ball, and that's what your fullback's there for. If you ever listen to Lee Dixon, he bangs on about all the time about one of the jobs of a fullback is to cover your centre-halves, because sometimes where you're stood, you can see runs better, and it's like just by playing 4 centre-halves, if they're not used to playing that role, they don't spot those runs, and that was clear yesterday, was our back four. They didn't look, I mean, how could they? How could they be a drilled unit? We've had 3 days since the last game. It's just, I'm going to throw defensive players at it and we'll be defensively better. It's like, no, these players have to be drilled, they have to be trained, they have to be organised. Someone has to tell them where to stand. That's your job as a manager stroke coach, is to coach those players. And you coach the system. You coach them how to stand, where to stand, what's happening, when it's happening. We stand here. If he's doing this, you do that. And you look at our back four, and if he's doing this, our other centre, and you watch them after, you don't really see it on the video. After the second goal went in, there was a Carmine Thomas having a fucking row with Clark, and Clark sort of pointing, going, well, I was covering him, and you see Rawson going, well, I had my man. And you're all sort of passing the book, going, well, I defended my man. Tom Pope has gone through one-on-one. Like, we're not talking about fucking Michael Owen. We're talking about a proper League One clogger has gone through like he's Michael Owen. It's like, that's nothing. That's just a fucking disorganised mess.
As well, and I gather he's probably quite good, but the age of the player that played the ball for the second goal?
Oh, he's 16, isn't he?
16-year-old kid that completely opened up the defences if it weren't there.
Question.
Well, it wasn't there.
Well, yeah. Go on, Neil, question.
Who's Justin?
Oh, sorry, the lad who stood with us.
And his name's not Justin, is it?
Is it not?
Yes.
No. Do you mean Julian?
Julian, sorry.
Yeah.
You're bringing these random people into the conversation I don't know, and you're getting their names wrong.
Yeah, not only do you reference people who nobody else knows regularly, and then refuse to explain who they are, you don't even get their names right.
It's been a long day. I was up till 1 o'clock, no, 1:30 this morning. I got woken up by my daughter doing this in my ear. And when I shouted at her, she burst into tears, and I felt really guilty.
Did you get her name wrong? Right.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that, Julie. Please forgive me.
Have we got anything else that we want to say before we finish up?
No. Who are we playing next?
It's Shrewsbury away next weekend. Have we got a consensus over whether that's Shrewsbury or Shrewsbury?
Shrewsbury.
It's Shrewsbury if you're from around there. Shrewsbury if you can't say it right.
I think it's Shrewsbury as well, yeah. It's not a Shrow, is it?
No, it's Shrewsbury, technically.
Shrewsbury.
Well, you can say what you like, I guess.
Yeah, of course, free country.
Well, it's Shropshire, isn't it? So,
what does that
I don't know how that helps.
Okay, yeah. That's cleared that one up then.
It's the Bury-Berry thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but no one calls it Bury unless they're like weird northerners, do they? Kerber. Yeah, Care Bear. This is someone married to an alderman. Right, okay. I think that's everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to get in touch with us, at Nii Lamptey Show on Twitter, neelampteyshow@gmail.com. Thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Bye.